Laura. Thanks for choosing to interview with me today.
Yeah, no problem.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good.
We're just going to talk about your past experiences and things looking forward to the future and a little bit of your relationship.
Sure.
So today what was one of your most defining moments in life?
I mean, it's kind of hard to think about that, but, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but one of my most defining moments is in one of my classes. I took this class called Argumentation and Decision Making, and it was one of the hardest classes I've ever taken in my life, and the workload was so hard, and I feel like the directions weren't always easy to understand, and it was basically a debate class, and we had this really hard debate where we all had to go up in front of the class, and the class had to vote on who to kick out in all these rounds, and we had to debate for this topic is basically what we did, and I was so nervous, and but I prepared so well. I spent weeks preparing for this assignment, and then when it actually came down to it, I was so nervous, but I ended up winning the debate, and I think that was just a moment for me that really made me gain a lot of self-confidence, because taking the class, I was like, oh, Laura, this isn't for you, you shouldn't have ever signed up for it, you can't do it, and once I won it, I was like, okay, if you can do this, you can do anything, and so I think that gave me a lot of confidence, and I guess there's been a lot of defining moments, but that's been one for me, in my college career that, actually made a difference for me.
Absolutely. So how did you kind of get yourself through that class? Did the professor talk to you, or was it kind of a mental
Well,
motivation?
I'm, not very, sometimes at that time in my college career, I hadn't, been used to asking professors questions a lot. I was kind of I'll figure it out myself. I don't need to do that. But towards the end of the semester, I was, drowning because of reasons, and I
end of the semester.
Yeah, end of the semester, and the due date came quicker than I expected, and with dance team and all that, so I actually went up to my professor, and I couldn't hold back the tears. I was crying, and I was that feeling when you can't stop, and you're so embarrassed because you're crying in front of somebody that you would never cry.
You're letting your emotions out.
Yeah, and instead of my professor being mean here, being kind of shocked that I was crying, he just looked at me and he said, Laura, you're so capable. I know you can do this. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. And that was just such a moment for me because it was okay, he believes in me. If he believes in me, I can do it too.
Yep.
So that's really how I got through it.
Yeah, sometimes you need that pep talk.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. It sounds like you learned a lot from that and gained some confidence.
Definitely.
So from that, what would you say how you enjoy spending your free time?
Well, I really like to spend time with my boyfriend. He's my best friend. So on the weekends, we always get together, even though he goes to UWRF and I go here. We pretty much spend all our weekends together, and we like to go ice fishing, regular fishing, hiking, camping. We have a camping trip planned for the end of May that we're both really excited for, and hang out with our other friends too. So, but yeah, I really like to be an outdoors person, and my boyfriend definitely influenced me to be that kind of person, because before him, I would have never thought I'd be a camping type of gal. But yeah, I really like fishing, and I don't do hunting, but I go with him hunting. So I like to spend time outside.
I know you said that he goes to the U of M, so how have you two handled the distance throughout college?
At first it was really hard because we started dating beginning of freshman year, even right before we went off to college, and he had already committed to the U of M, I had already committed to here, and so it's always been really hard because at first I was like, well, does he invite me over? Should I just come? How is this whole thing going to work out? But then, as time went on, we've been dating for almost 4 years now, and now it's he's doesn't need to invite me, I'm just gonna come over. Yeah, I'm coming, it's past that point. So I think that it was definitely a learning curve for both of us, trying to figure out how it was gonna work. But I mean, I've always known he'd be faithful, and he's always known I'd be faithful, and but we've let each other, we give each other freedoms. On the weekends, I expect him to go out and be with his friends, go to parties if he wants to, and he expects the same for me. So I think that just learning how to give somebody space and knowing but it's all gonna be okay is really something that we've had to work on. But we really appreciate it now. Now college is ending, I think our relationship is stronger because of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So do you guys make plans ahead of time, or is it kind of oh, I'm here, I'm home, close to the U?
Well, it used to be we would make specific plans, okay, I'm coming to the U of M, or oh, I'm going home, meet me at home, but now it's more oh, what are we going to do this weekend? We don't really know. It's just that he knows, either way, I'm going to either come to his apartment or I'm going to go to his house at home.
Either way, you're hanging out.
Yeah, and then, sometimes there's specific things where he's in a fraternity, so he has to do, stuff with that, but we don't really plan anymore, but we definitely used to. So.
How do you feel the distance has affected your guys' relationship?
It's just part of our it's it's so hard to separate it now because I've never been in the same town as him other than during the summer, and that's only for 3 months. And then, but the majority of the year we're separated. So it's like basically just life for us. Like, oh, we're on, Sunday night we have to leave each other, and then on Friday night we're going to be able to see each other again. So it's like, that's just always been our mentality, and it's been kind of hard, like really frustrating for me because I like to have a companion, and he's definitely like my number one companion. So, like we text a lot and we call each other like every night. But, yeah, it's hard to say because it's just like our lives. So like from this point, that's how our lives have been. But I'm really excited for us to both graduate, and then we can, be together like normal people during the week. So that'll be really cool.
I'm sure you've heard before, the distance makes the heart grow fonder. So with that, do you feel like it has helped you guys appreciate your time together more since you are apart?
Yeah, especially at first, because I just like miss him so much, and like every weekend our relationship would go stronger because we'd see each other and we'd learn more about each other. And then I'd come home on like on Monday, and I'd just be like so upset, like, oh my gosh, like I'm just like suffering from that high that you just had on the weekend, and then having to go back to reality. So at first it was like really, the distance did make the heart grow stronger, because then every time we'd see each other it'd just be like a breath of relief on both of us, like, oh my gosh, we're back together again. And I guess now it's just such like, I don't want to say that like the honeymoon stage is over, but like the honeymoon stage is over, and so I mean we're apart, but it's more like just normal for us. And like even now, like we're both like I'm out of dance team now, I have more free time, so it's like, oh, if I really needed to see him, I could just pop over to U of M, it's not too far away. So at first, like, definitely, and I did think it really helped us, but now it's just kind of, like, part of everyday life.
Yeah, just getting used to it. So rewinding back a little bit, could you tell us about how the two of you met?
Yeah. So, prom, my senior year of high school, I was supposed to go with this one guy, and he, like, we had a crush on each other and whatever, but then one day he just said, I don't want to go to prom with you anymore. So that was really great. Like, So then, my other friend that I had that was also on the dance team, she was like, oh, Laura, you can't not go to prom your senior year. Like, you have to go. And I had already bought a dress, but I was like, nope, this is it. Like, I'm not going. That was a low blow. But then she was like, no, Laura, you have to come. So she set me up with this guy named Andy, and I didn't know him at all. Like, I went to a pretty big high school, and even though we were in the same grade, in the same class, like, I really didn't know him. And like we met, and he was just really shy, and I was like, oh god, he hates me, because we would hang out and he would like barely say 2 words to me, and then even at prom, like he didn't really talk, and I was like, dear Lord, this is a disaster. And I was like, hey, it's over. But then after prom, he kept like calling me and texting me saying like, oh, I need your garter, because it's tradition for the girl to give the guy a garter. And I was like, oh my god, all he wants is my garter. Like, that's all he wants. Like, so finally I gave him his garter, and I was like, okay, bye, sayonara. Like, and I thought he was cute and like nice. So I was like, well, that's the end of that.
Did you drive it over?
Yeah, like, he came and picked it up, okay. And then he just took it and left, like, and I was like,
there's your souvenir.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, it was so weird. But then, like, lo and behold, the next day he texted me again and just said, hey, what's up? And so then, like, I was like, oh, so he does actually want to talk to me. And now I kind of laugh about it because I'm like, Andy, I just thought you wanted my garter. And he was like, no, that was my way of flirting with you. And I was like, he was not a very good flirter. He was a little bit awkward, which is fine because, he's learned since then. But yeah, that's how it all began.
Oh, that's so cute. It's romantic. So how long have you guys been together now?
It's like 3.5 years, or a little bit over that, because our technical anniversary is August 10th.
Oh, wow. Coming up.
Yeah.
Pretty soon. So I know you said that that relationship that you had previously to dating Andy kind of blew you off before prom. Have you ever thought about your previous lovers and the difference of their relationships to your one now?
Yeah. Like, this guy was just like kind of a blimp in the screen. Like, he really wasn't too big of a deal, other than the fact that he like ditched me for prom. So I can't say that he like really broke my heart or anything, but there was a guy before that like I dated for a long period of time in high school, and he, like, I thought at the time, I was like 16, and I was like, this is the love of my life, I'll never get over him. And I did, like, I got over him, but not before a lot of like tears and heartbreak happened. And I think that as like a young girl, I just really fell in love really quickly, and let myself get taken advantage of. And so I compare that relationship to this relationship now, and it's like not even comparable, because that relationship, I mean, the boy didn't respect me, he would blow me off, just like a really toxic relationship. And now I'm involved with one that like my boyfriend actually wants to hang out with me. Like, I don't have to be like, you know, like, oh, should we hang out? And that guy's like, oh no, too much time. Like, no, like, relationships should feel like you want to be with each other. And like, Andy genuinely invites me to things, wants me to be with him. We have genuine respect for each other and our viewpoints, and we have a lot more in common. And this guy, it was just, you know, a young relationship that you just kind of have to attribute to, like, we're young and stupid, and you know, like I think if we saw each other now, we'd respect each other, but at the time it wasn't pretty and it wasn't fun. So.
Yeah. Aren't you glad, though, that you did have that experience, because it kind of helps you learn what you do want, what you don't want, and kind of what you deserve. Like, you don't want to be around someone that you feel like they're not wanting to spend their time with you.
Yeah.
And you obviously have that now with Andy.
Mm-hmm. It definitely made me like realize what I deserved, because at the time I was like, I honestly thought this in my head, like, I will never find anybody who loves me as much as this guy does. And so like that was kind of difficult for me, because that's something that I would like tell myself on an everyday basis, was like, I don't deserve that kind of love.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, well, how, like, obviously I was so wrong, and I just thought, like, after this guy, who would want to date me? And like, that's just such a, you know, like a young, bad way to see it. But yeah, so I definitely did learn a lot from that relationship, just knowing what I deserve and what I don't want and what I do need.
Right, and I'm glad to hear that you're in a much happier place now. And
Thank you.
a lot better relationship. You seem very happy. So going back to you and Andy, something that I'm sure you'd like to talk about more, if you had to choose one memory to hold on to between the two of you to this date, what would it be?
Oh gosh, there's like so many. I mean, like, honestly, so many. I guess like there's not really one in particular, but like Andy he's not really an emotional guy. He's really like, he's an engineering student. He just kind of, you know, has a hard time expressing himself in words. So when he does express himself in words, it's like a really big deal. So there's been a couple times where I think one time he said to me, or I know he said this to me because he said it to me a couple times now. I'd ask him, because I'm his first relationship, like, ever, and I'd ask him, like, Andy, what would you have done? Like, were you ever worried? Like, you know, like, in high school, you didn't have, like, a girlfriend or anything? Like, were you, like, did you want to find one in college, or were you kind of not even worried about that? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I honestly would just sit and, like, think, like, who am I going to marry? He was like, I'm so glad I found you, because now I don't have to worry about that. And, like, that sounds kind of weird, but, like, to Andy, that's, like, a huge compliment, or, like, it means, like, that he really loves me, because to him it's like, it's just as simple as that, like, oh, who am I going to marry? You know, for girls it's like, well, it's not just that, it's like a million other things. Do I love him? Does he treat me right? But for him it was so simple, like, you're right, that really is what it comes down to, like, who am I going to spend the rest of my life with?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think, like, when he says things like that, or when he's like, well, Laura, I really love you, or like, just things where it's out of the ordinary, those are the memories that I really like to keep.
Oh, good. So, do you two talk about plans then after college?
Yeah, I have a job, and so does Andy, and they're both located in, like, the Twin Cities area, actually really close to each other. One is in Edina, and his is in Bloomington, and so we know we'll be living really close to each other for, like, the summer. And then I know we talked about getting married. Like, we know we're going to get married, it's just a matter of when. And so he has told me that he's going to propose to me by the end of this year. And so, I mean, like, I guess some people, like, so they want it to be a surprise, but for us, we're like, okay, we want to plan this, we want to, like, because he wants to buy me a ring, but it has to be, like, in his price range, and so there's all these different things to think about. So we definitely want to get married and, like, start our lives together. So we do talk about it a lot. Like, we talk about the trips we want to take, and especially camping trips, and, like, you know, even, like, going across to Europe and stuff like that. So there's long-distance ones and, like, short-term ones. So
how fun. So my final question for you is, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I hope to be married. I hope to be having a really successful career. I want to be doing something where I feel like I'm making a difference, and something that I wake up every morning not hating. But I also hope that I will be taking lots of fun trips, hanging out with really good friends, and hopefully be thinking about children.
Well, you're well on your way. It sounds like you have a great relationship, and you're almost done with school, so thank you for sharing your love story with me. And this was Laura, and then our observer is Chelsea. Want to pop your head?